Hi everybody, I'm Willem.
And I'm Tim.
And this is Hear Me Out Pitch. There we go. Jeez.
There you go.
I was trying to be all sophisticated like Tim, but I am not. But it's a Tuesday, isn't it, Tim? Tuesday. And we got a bottle of water here. It's wonderful on this Tuesday evening. And today's kind of a discussion. It's a discussion episode. We will be the realest of real with you guys. Just adulting again, but we want to give you guys something. We're going to try to be better. I need to be better at catching up with the editing. It's been a long ride, new job, new career. It is fun, but I'm trying to catch up. But I think today we're going to have a nice little discussion. I've just been having this image, and I think I'm going to share it along with another image. And I would hope that you guys take a good hard look at these images on social media. I'll post them on Instagram. I'll have Tim post them on Facebook. I'll post them wherever I can. Maybe I'll even make the background of this. I don't know. I'll include it. But for those who are wondering, Willem, just spit it out what you want to talk about. The images that are in my head this week are the famous painting of Ivan the Terrible and his son. It's a very tragic painting of Ivan holding his son. His son has this bloody head, and Ivan's just staring off, horrified. His eyes. It's the eyes. It's one of those paintings that the eyes just pierce your soul. Very much how Kronos eats his children. That painting always messed me up. And speaking of another father, more on a lighter note, probably one of my favorite stories of a father is the story of the prodigal father, or the story of the prodigal son. I have always come to find that is one of my favorite stories. Even if you are not Christian, we would hope that you will take time to just listen to this episode. We won't get too much into the teachings of that parable, but I just find it just a good story, a story of a wandering son returning home. And for any of you who have watched Avatar, for any of you who have read The Way of Kings, there are many scenes that are very similar to a wandering lost son returning to his father, and I absolutely love it. So, and I asked Tim, I was like, what is the opposite story of the prodigal son? And I think I'll, let him give my answer. His answer, sorry.
I said Darth Vader.
Why, Tim? Why is Darth Vader the exact... And I'm talking about...
I wouldn't say the exact opposite, because here's the thing about the exact opposite of the prodigal son. The prodigal son, the opposite of that would be the son never comes home, ever.
Yeah. Never
learns his lesson. And there's not a lot of stories that have that where it's not the villain that happens to. However, Darth Vader, you know what? Actually, I disagree. I think Darth Vader is a prodigal son type character.
He's a prodigal.
Mm-hmm. He's a prodigal father. Because, as Anakin Skywalker, he was taught to be good. He was taught to follow the teachings of the Jedi and to protect people. And then he was changed. And through a lot of manipulation from Emperor Palpatine, he was changed to be a dark servant of evil. And over the course of somewhere around 30 years, I think a little less than 30 years if I remember correctly, he continued on that evil path, just being a weapon in the hands of the Empire. And then that final encounter, that first encounter with Luke, when Luke and Darth Vader fight, wasn't actually their first time meeting, but it was on screen at Cloud City. got the gears turning, showing the little bit of Anakin Skywalker that was left. That, hey, maybe there is something worth living for. Maybe there is something worth protecting and fighting for, and not punishing myself for every mistake I ever made. And so over the course of several years, he's battling with himself internally, and Luke goes up and surrenders on Endor, and they go up to the Death Star, and Luke is brought before the Emperor, and there's fan-made stories of what if, right? And there's one in particular that kind of that I really like. I hate it, but I love it. And it's where the Emperor, sensing that Luke won't turn, like, you know what? All right, fine. And then he kills Luke right then and there.
Your resistance is futile, young Skywalker.
And he actually does succeed in actually just straight up killing Luke. And that pushes Anakin Skywalker back into control, and it's a cool image that this person wrote, but essentially, Anakin Skywalker being back in full control, uses the Force pushes Palpatine into his little swivel chair, and then pushes harder, and he pushes Palpatine and the Emperor and the chair out the window.
Hooray!
And that ends up killing the Emperor. And the actual story we got where Luke was able to redeem his father, I think is a lot more. I think it's more well written, and it shows that even the worst mistakes, you can come back from them.
I think it's the tragedy of what if you don't come back? What if you choose not to? And there's many stories. We can find many characters, many villains, many heroes who learn too late. And I just imagine, I told Tim that I would love to see a depiction of that story he told, because just painted in the same context of Ivan holding his son and realizing I'm a monster and it took away my son. And I've been even thinking of what if the prodigal son never returns, and I'm thinking of another painting or an image of, I imagine, I've always imagined that the prodigal father never ever lost track of his son. He always knew where he was, and we always know that he looked far way off. And I truly believe that in this story, he went out every day while his sons and wife and him and workers tilled the farms, tilled everything in their land. He would always look down that path to see if his son would return home. So I fully believe he knew where his son was, and I just imagine one day a servant of his comes stumbling forward and says, "My Lord, there has been terrible tragedy." And I just imagine the scene of the prodigal son on the ground, surrounded by swine, and the prodigal father just holds the son. Because what if he never came home? He would have died. If he never came to himself, he would have succumbed and just been dead among the swine. And that's where he put himself. So what can you think of an example? And I've already mentioned Kaladin, I've mentioned Zuko. Can you think of...
There are 9. I made a list.
Shoot!
Off the top of my head, 9 characters in modern and semi-modern media that would fall under the prodigal son category.
I'm ready. I'm excited.
There's 9 of them.
Okay.
And I'm just going to list them off real quick, and then we'll talk about each one.
I'm excited. Okay, go. I'm ready. I'm excited.
There's one that I am very... We've already talked about this character before. We'll get there in a second.
Okay.
First and foremost, my favorite is Zuko.
Absolutely.
In Avatar: The Last Airbender. along those same lines, Aang. Aang is the same, not quite as extreme, but he has his prodigal moment. Right there at the very beginning, the first 5 episodes.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
He did go home. And
he ran away from home.
Except he's a tragedy of he found out kind of too late. But nope. I want to keep hearing.
Well, next, we just talked about him, Anakin Skywalker. Bruce Wayne was another big one. Obviously, Simba in The Lion King. That one's pretty easy to see.
Hamlet. I'm going to put those two together.
Well, yes. Lion King was just a rewrite of Hamlet for Disney audiences. Mm-hmm. Next, my phone decided that Aragorn would be Aragon, which is wrong, but Aragorn is another really big one. Another one of my favorites. Next is an interesting pick, but it's Shang-Chi.
Oh,
one of the more recent Disney or
you know what?
Marvel
We
films.
need to make up. If they're not going to make up a sequel, Tim, if they're not going to do a sequel,
Mm-hmm.
we should make up one. I'm getting real sick of him just sitting in the back burner. I really want to see more of him. I need to watch Shang-Chi again. We should do that. Let's do that sometime.
Yeah, it's a good movie. This is the one that I said we've covered before, and I've made my feelings clear. I'm going to silence my phone.
How dare you have a life.
Wanda Maximoff.
Oh.
As much as I hated what they did to her character, Wanda Maximoff. And then last but not least is Kaladin Stormblessed.
No. So what? Okay, when you hear a prodigal character, what does that mean to you? Maybe we should look up the definition, but what's in Tim's mind?
In my mind, a prodigal character is someone who understands their birthright, their destiny, their role in society, their role in the universe, etc., etc., and they decide to leave. And they do their own thing, and then they realize what they're meant to do is not what they are doing, and so they return and they do better. They try to fix the mistakes they've made. They try to make the world a better place. There are a few characters that I would classify as prodigal characters that don't fit perfectly under that description, Batman being one of those. But and I think Shang-Chi as well being one of under that same category, but generally speaking, that's kind of what I imagine.
Someone with greatness. I've never looked up what prodigal means. And this is from the Oxford Diction. This is an Oxford definition. Goodness gracious, I can't talk. It's an adjective. Spending money or resources freely and recklessly, wastefully extravagant. Prodigal habits die hard. That is the example. So wasteful, extravagant. So it's funny that I've been calling him the prodigal father, but the prodigal father wasn't wasteful. He didn't waste away his son. The son had every right to choose for himself what it was. I think that's
Tony Stark. That's number 10 on the list. I forgot to put Tony Stark on there, even though I'd been thinking about that.
All right. Well, I think that actually works. So a character who wastes things,
whether that's time or money or
because Kaladin was wasting himself. He was becoming a wretch.
Oh yeah,
he was. He was
yes,
wasting
he was.
himself. Zuko, same thing. You're wasting your potential. Wow, Tim, great list.
Thanks.
Great list. So I think that's why we love these sort of characters. I don't know if I feel like Wanda. I think she is very. I get. I don't know if Wanda ever wasted. in a way. I think she was just
in my opinion, she wasted the good that was inside her.
Oh.
She wasted her good nature and threw it away to get what she wanted.
So,
Which her whole story is tragic. It is very tragic. But she does, in the end, sacrifice herself in realization.
I don't think that she's fully. Well, Marvel says that she's dead. I don't know if they're telling the truth. To be honest,
Well,
it would be
yeah.
a waste.
Yeah.
But I think she has potential, just like all of us do.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and that's kind of the story of the prodigal son.
Yeah.
All of us have potential, and whatever we're wasting, we're able to come back, and we're able to stop wasting our time, our money, our effort, our skills.
Don't waste your. Well, not to pull a few more of those parables, but don't. If you light a candle, you don't just hide it under a bushel. You don't just hide everything away. You let your light be shown. Aww. Oh. Well, how would you say Luke is a wasteful character? Or do you think it's more Darth Vader?
I feel like it was Anakin Skywalker.
I don't think you said Luke, did you?
No.
Oh, my bad.
Anakin Skywalker wasted his life. He wasted his training, his life, his relationships.
Okay, so...
And in the end, he came back and tried to fix the mistakes he'd made.
Well, then I think I kind of disagree with you when it comes to Batman. I think Tony Stark, definitely. But why Batman? Unless you're thinking of a certain type of Batman.
I am specifically thinking of the Bruce Wayne in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Because he spends so much time and effort and mental capacity hunting down the man that killed his parents to get revenge. And
that's even before his training.
He's not even the one who killed the guy that killed his parents. It was some angry lady.
She was sent by the mob boss.
She was. That's true. But
she probably was pretty angry.
Yeah.
Tony Zuko. Yep. Zuko's a jerk. He's the reason Robin's parents died. Anyway, don't need to go on that tangent. That's a prodigal moment.
Yeah.
Because when he is with Rachel, and
Rachel,
where is she? When he pulls out the gun and she slaps him, that's his moment. He was gonna go and waste. Oh, okay.
He was gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, he was
in the courtroom. He had the gun.
He was walking toward him, and he would have gone to jail, and he would have his life would have been over. No, and he had a saving grace moment, and then Rachel slapped him silly for it.
And Alfred
he left.
Told him to man up.
And he went on a journey, and then he returned. And then it's funny because they even call him the prodigal son when he comes back.
Prodigal son returns.
Yeah, they... Wow, so does that mean you went on your journey and you wasted? Is that what they think? Because I feel like, yeah, some people might think this life is a waste. Some people might think that, okay... All right. Now I'm getting it. Tony Stark definitely was wasting away his opportunities.
Oh, of course. Tony Stark spent all of his money and talents to get women and alcohol.
Hooray!
That was like his whole thing.
Eat, drink, and be merry.
And then he came back and realized that, he blew himself up, and then realized what a mistake his company was making and decided to change it.
Wow, now I've said I've seen what prodigal means. I am because I always thought maybe it was on the sense of you're a prodigy.
No,
it is not.
Prodigy is completely different.
It's not. What is a prodigy? What does prodigy mean?
Naturally gifted from the start.
So, well, if you think about it, many of these people are gifted.
They are.
And they waste it.
Yes.
So can a prodigy become a prodigal?
I would say so.
So what?
And I think a prodigal can become a prodigy.
Oh.
We see that with a couple of these characters.
I think that those two words have to be related. So what does prod? Like, I'm just curious.
Let's look.
Dun dun dun. I guess not. I guess those words aren't that. I think that that's very interesting. The difference between a prodigal and a prodigy is not. You can easily turn into any of them. I think warrior. We have that with both sons. We see one turn into. We see Tommy, who was a prodigy, turn into a prodigal. He wastes everything away until his dad kind of wakens up from it. We see. I don't think that Brendan was wasting away anything. I think Brendan was just fighting for what was right. I love that there's the analogy of one brother is fighting for everything, the other brother's fighting for. The other brothers got really well. They're both fighting for. If you have not seen Warrior,
it's a good movie.
It's a good one. You do not need to watch mixed martial arts, UFC, anything like that. You do not even have to be big into sports.
I am not
new
a big sports fan. I do like Warrior.
I was very surprised Tim had seen it. I was like, I did not. That wow. It's a good father and son movie. Mm-hmm. Father and sons. Well, moving on down this list a little more, kind of talking into it. Now that my brain is just going off with, and we kind of did that with our Samurai of Light story. He was a prodigy, and then I don't think he was arrogant and he was cocky.
I wouldn't say he was a prodigal though.
No, he wasn't, I guess. But
I would say maybe Darkness was a prodigal.
Yeah. That was really good. That was a lot of fun. I think I think Violet is a prodigy, and Micah. I think that's a good story that we made too. That neither of them were just. She was just this fun-loving prodigy who just loved painting. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. Our cute little bears. None of them are anything like that. They're just adorable. But I do think the dad.
I would say the dad was a prodigal.
The dad was a prodigal in a way. He was wasting his time with his kids, and he was wasting just his talents. Aww. Oh. Mm-hmm. Man, prodigal versus prodigy. Well, if you had to... Is it better to have a villain be a prodigy or a prodigal? Like, if you were to make... If I said...
A good villain...
Is a prodigy or a prodigal?
Would be a prodigy. Okay. Someone who is naturally gifted. We see it a lot of times with, like, superhero movies and stuff, where the bad guy is just naturally... He's gifted and he's just better than everyone.
Shang-Chi's dad.
Steelheart.
Oh! Yes.
You know... Those kinds of characters, I think, though, if done right, like Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader, a prodigal could work as well. And Darth Vader, honestly, was both. He was a prodigy and a prodigal.
What if it's a well, prodigal, I'm not saying in the sense, when I say prodigal, I mean a character who's wasting everything. When the prodigal comes to himself, I think that they've stripped their title. When they come home, when they turn around... Simba was on this path of, Hakuna Matata. Put it all behind you. I don't care. And then Mufasa visits him in that vision. Remember who you are. You have forgotten who you are, so therefore you have forgotten me. Take your place. Remember, you can do this. Lion King, sadly, is not in my top 10 Disney movies, but... I will admit that it is an iconic Disney movie, and everyone should see it, and
just
everyone should watch it.
Just because it's not in your top 10 does not mean you don't love it. I will watch it again and again. It is a very good movie. It's a very good story.
I can't tell you the last time I watched it.
I can. A couple months ago.
Dang! Maybe I'll watch it tonight while I make food. But what is what is a prodigal that never turned around? Other than Darth Vader technically did. So can you think of a failed prodigal?
I don't think that would be a prodigal. Honestly, one of the ones that comes to my mind, and I'm not entirely sure why, is King Magnifico in Wish.
Ooh, yes.
Because like
he was
dude.
a prodigy, and he wasted everything away, and he never got redeemed, and that's what's so maybe that's what bugged us about King Magnifico. Your version, the one that we came up with of him,
Represalius.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. And Represalius, I think Represalius, it was a prodigal. He was someone who could have learned, and because of anger he wasted everything away, and he lost. Oh man, maybe that is a key little bit of story. I think that's what bugs us, is we had this great king and he fell, and there could have been an awesome thing of redeeming. I think the issue was he fell because of something that was kind of lame. I don't think it was the fact that he was a failed prodigal. And I think that's because we have failed prodigals all the time. I would honestly Tai Lung. Were you just about to say Tai Lung. Okay. I was just about to say Tai Lung. I saw Kung Fu Panda in my thing. I was like, Tai Lung. He didn't get to, and that was what killed me with the concept of the fourth one. Yeah. We could have had an amazing, because people want to see heroes redeemed, because I want to see the villains redeemed too. I want to see a good villain redeemed if they can. Of course, there are some villains. I think Darth Vader showed us that almost any villain, if done right, can be redeemed. How could a Voldemort been redeemed? Again, if done right. Well, I'm curious now. I don't think Voldemort could have. Sauron? No. Sauron was the embodiment of evil. Voldemort split his soul into 7 pieces by murdering people. There's no coming back from that. And Sauron was the embodiment of evil. What about before he became that? Or is he always that? I don't know it. We don't need to go into it. So just in short, no. No. A good example in The Lord of the Rings of a prodigal is Aragorn. Because he knew he was destined to be the king of Gondor. He knew it. And he was running away for 50 years. Like more than 50 years, right? Years, yeah. Because what happened? He became a ranger of the North. One of the wild men. He didn't, he didn't. So was he a prince? Yeah. Technically? Yes. And then did something happen? He was like, oh, run away. Or did he just decide to be a ranger and then just went off and did his own thing? He was afraid of... He was afraid of taking upon the responsibility of king. As the king of Gondor. And then, I will say this. He was afraid of it and he ran from it. However, he did not run away from duty. No. He's brave. He's very brave. He is a very valiant soul. He was the first to lay down his sword Was he? He was the first. You have my sword. He was the first to lay down his sword in the service of Frodo to guide him along his journey. Okay. He was the first to accept that Frodo was going to have a different journey than them, and he let them go. He let him go, and yeah, he and in the end, he did accept that. Yeah, Gondor needs a king, and I'm going to be that king. And he took Anduril from Elrond, and he went into the mountain pass, and he talked to the ghosts of the deserters, and bound them to his service again. And it's cute because they got to redeem themselves too. They got to redeem themselves too. But now I'm going to make you sad. Boromir and his brother. I would say Boromir was both a prodigy and a prodigal. He had a prodigal moment, not a prodigal story. No, he had a moment. He was always valiant. He was always yes, he was arrogant the whole time, but he was... We all can be arrogant sometimes. He was a valiant soul. He pledged his sword in the service of Frodo as well. He fought to protect them.
And though he messed up and he did pursue the ring for power because it's manipulating him, he did redeem himself by protecting the other two hobbits with his life. He laid down his life so that Merry and Pippin could live. And it wasn't in vain necessarily, but it was just a tragedy that befell him as he laid down his life.
I can't think of it too much.
To redeem
it makes
himself.
Me sad. I think people are like, "What's a moment that you like can't watch but you love?" And it's like, I love Boromir. Well, then I guess we gotta go into the two that I'm like kind of been scratching my chin on, but Zuko and Aang. First off, let's do Zuko first because he's just the obvious one. Because Aang, I was very surprised, but yet you're right.
Yeah.
Because he does have those moments. But Zuko is the prodigal son. He is. The story is absolutely wonderful for anyone who is ever reading in the book of Luke and you get to the chapter with that parable. If you ever want to just make it feel a little bit sweeter, you got to read Iroh's part. And for all of you who don't remember what that part is, here, ow! I have it in my wallet. What?
I love it.
I have it in my wallet.
I've got it on my phone.
But yeah, I have a little card that my buddy used a laser printer, and I've always imagined that after for all of the Bible readers out there, it says in the scriptures that the father fell a long way off, and the father ran, and he fell upon his son and kissed him. And I've always imagined that very similar to that scene with Zuko and Iroh. Zuko says, just like the son would have in my head, "How can you forgive me after everything I've done?" And Iroh says, "I was never angry with you. I was sad because I was afraid you'd lost your way. But you found it again, and you did it by yourself, and I'm so happy you found your way." And that's it. It's short. It's sweet. Like, whoever was on that team, I dare you to deny that they didn't have some inspiration from the prodigal son in some way, from any different version. We just love to see a good redemption, and that story just gets me, and my wallet is falling apart. Oh no. Time to get a new wallet soon. Oh heavens. Oh heavens. Anyway, so Aang.
Yep. Aang is a good example in my opinion because he's got more than one moment where he runs away, and I think the biggest one, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's episode 5. Let me double check. Episode 12. Sorry.
Oh wow! Really?
Yes. Episode 12.
Is the storm?
Or so says this. Yeah.
Okay. I'll believe it. I'll allow it.
Yes, because episode 5.
That's one of your favorites.
Episode 5
correct?
is the King of Omashu.
Yes.
Yes. Episode 5 is one of my favorites. In episode 12, The Storm, we get 2 stories. We get the story of Zuko, how he got his scar. And, Zuko has kind of a prodigal moment in that episode, just a mini prodigal moment, where he's so focused on the Avatar that he puts the lives of his crew in danger, and then there's a storm. The crew learns about his story, why he was banished, how he got his scar, etc., why he chases the Avatar.
I don't know how I got these scars.
And then Zuko, instead of chasing the Avatar, saves his men.
It's such a good episode.
It is one of my favorites because
it's not in my top 5, but it is a good one.
We learn so much about the 2 characters. Honestly, probably the 2 main characters. Aang, on the other hand, we relive his backstory. We relive through him his How he was a child prodigy who before the age of 12 invented an airbending move, was told he was the Avatar, which is a huge responsibility for a 12-year-old. I don't know if you remember being 12, but I do. I remember being 12.
Wow. Okay, first off, you call me old? Yes. Okay. That
Old
was
man Barnes.
That was 17 years ago.
But when I was 12, right, I was making stupid mistakes and in no capacity to take on the responsibility, any more responsibility than I already had. I got in a lot of trouble growing up, and I don't think I could have handled being the Avatar. Aang, on the other hand, was forced to grow up a little bit faster. And he was told he was the Avatar. The monks talked about sending him away so that he could train at another air temple where his attachments to Monk Gyatso wouldn't get in his way. And so he decided to run away. He ran away from the responsibility of being the Avatar. And he regrets it. Especially in episode 3 when they're at the Southern Air Temple. And he sees his people annihilated, just gone. And he sees the body of the skeleton of his mentor and friend Gyatso. And he just kind of loses it. But then over the course of this first season, he accepts who he is as the Avatar, and in the final episode of season 1, he fully embraces his role as the Avatar, and becomes one with the spirit of the sea, the ocean spirit, and wipes out the Fire Nation ships and protects the Northern Water Tribe. But he's got other moments. The elephant koi on Kyoshi Island, I feel like he didn't fully understand what the urgency was. And also, I think he wanted to just be a kid, and he didn't want to have to deal with that responsibility. So he decided to mess around and ride the elephant koi and let his fame get to his head. And it bit him in the butt, and ended up getting his friends hurt. And in the end of that episode, he decides, all right, fine, I'll fix this. I'll do better. I will not.
I will not run. I will not. I think that after looking up the definition and seeing that what prodigal means, it really makes me appreciate it so much more, because I just imagine that I'm imagining prodigy to prodigal now. Like, I've just been thinking about all these characters and heroes, and even in our own lives we have moments where we're just wasting our potential, what we could be. I know that for those of you who have parents, you look at your children and you're thinking the same thing. And I think that this was, I'm pretty happy. I think we've touched on all the characters that Tim mentioned. I'm very proud and I'm very thankful for him, because I don't think I could just come up with that right off the bat like that. And so thanks, Tim, for that, and thanks for humoring me with this discussion, and we hope you guys liked it. And if you can ever think of, if we didn't mention a prodigal character or a character that you love which had a prodigal son moment, a turning face and finding themselves moment, email us, contact us. We'd love to hear from you guys. We really do. I would say that we currently love hearing from you guys, but we don't hear from you guys at all. So whatever, it's fine. But always open to hear, always happy to hear from you guys. And again, you give us ideas, you give us movies, you give us anything, and we will imply it into our episodes. But with that, I'll let Tim close us off.
Yeah. And until next time, love each other, be kind. Don't forget it's not too late to right the wrongs you've made. And we'll see you later, pitches.
Bye.